Welcome everyone to our June 8th workshop. We got a full schedule today, so we'll try to get through this as quickly as we can, but this is a workshop, and if there's any discussion that needs to be discussed as we talk about these, feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions or comments in regards to it. The first item is the Southfield Special Tax District declarations. So we have this here. Let's see. We got Miss Kimberly Min, I think, coming on. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm just waiting for her to connect.
All right.
There's KM right there.
Hello, Kimberly. Can you hear us?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you now. I saw you earlier. Oh, now I get to see you. There you go.
All right. How about we have a round of applause for this?
All right. That'd be fine. So I guess as we're going over you have received the declaration that is made on this date about the special taxing district. Is there anything that we need to be aware of, or does everything look pretty good to you?
So it does. The intent of this particular document is to put notice to all of the landowners existing now who have already agreed to subject the land to the district, and also future owners that this district is subject to a special tax liability, eventually, when and if the bonds are issued. Now, it may be in the town in the future, as some of these parcels get subdivided, right, and that there are additional tax parcels issued, that we would somehow supplement the land records to make sure that everything continues to be clearly identified, because these are larger tracts. But otherwise, that's really the only thing we're going to need to keep an eye on as the development proceeds.
Very good. Lou, do you have any questions or comments on this?
To follow up, because these are large tracts, Kimberly, then anytime there's a subdivision, the property owners at that point have to be notified of the special taxing district. Are they subject to being reported? Is this a supplement reported?
The supplement can be recorded. It's not legally required, because once you put something down on a big piece of land, it gets chopped up, but it continues on with it. But what we want to make sure is that that we're also tracking the tax parcels, because once a subdivision occurs, there's different tax parcel numbers that get assigned. So they're going to know and have the proper notice that they're subject to the special taxing district. It's more about an administrative thing for the town to track tax parcels, and if there's, for example, I can imagine with the home, so you might want to put a supplement down that identifies each of those specifically.
Unfortunately, I think you broke up a lot, and I wasn't following how the homeowners are notified.
Oh, so there are no. So what happens is this, and this purpose of the declaration is that this declaration is recorded in the land records. So anybody, commercial or otherwise, purchases property and they get the title search and the title commitment, which is part of each real estate transaction, then that document provides notice to them. There will also be notifications that occur at the time that the special tax will start to be assessed, if at all, and then each year any property owner will be receiving notice of what, if any, special taxes are going to be assessed, so that it's never a surprise. But they're going to know when they purchase the property that this is already in place.
How is the how is the property owner know where they're at in that repayment process? Like, are they given a yearly report, or okay, of what?
There'll be a yearly assessment on their tax bill.
But how do they know when?
And then the town has provided an annual report.
as far as when it's satisfied, when the bond's paid, and then they wouldn't be liable anymore? They have an
Yes.
ongoing report for that?
Yes.
They will be taxed. Just when the county sends a tax bill out, it'll include the town tax, the county tax, and the special tax.
Right.
All those, that's how the property owner will know that they have.
Yeah, but how will they
liability.
know at what stage, after, say, 20 years or whatever, and how will they know?
When the bonds are retired, then
Yes.
there will be no further tax issue, tax liability. And they would, I don't know, 20 years from now. but-
Well, I'm just saying, how would they
Assumption
know?
is that they will no longer receive a special tax at all at that point.
And that's their only way of knowing, is to just have it just stop?
I think we're the ones responsible for the administration of this, correct?
Well, Steve said, once the bonds are retired, the town would notify the county that the special taxing district, the special tax will no longer apply
Okay.
to all those homeowners or property owners within that district.
The town will get an annual report from the who's handicap. And they will, in that report, designate which parcels are responsible for what, what are the outstanding balances that need to be recovered, what's the, future debt service. I mean, it's all going to be very predictable, and it's likely that there would be down the road if there continues to stay thinking. So that will be provided to the town, and then that's what the town uses to provide to the county to make special tax assessments. You'll always have that information.
So I know you're breaking up, Kimberly, and it's, but I would say that the bottom line is, I know that we have access to that information annually, and it'll be the town's responsibility to end the special taxing district when the payment is in full. Is that correct?
Yep. That is correct. Can you hear me better now? I switched it over to my phone.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, it was just hard to follow you a little bit. It's good, thank you.
Is there any other questions from the board to Kimberly? Lou, any additional?
No, I think we have it.
I think we got it down pretty good. Kimberly, thank you.
Always a pleasure. One day it'll be in person, but we're being judicious with resources, so I'll make sure to make a trip up there again soon.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Need a motion by the board to enact a declaration so we can have it reported. Yep. It's a public meeting.
Okay, so Lou says that we can.
Yes, because you have a quorum.
So do we have a motion to accept Resolution R8 2020?
So moved.
Second.
No. Oh, this is doing the declaration. The R8's already been adopted.
I thought so. So you're looking for us to
Make
accept.
a motion to authorize the declaration to be recorded.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept that this declaration be recorded?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on it? Hearing all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have Hartford Bank Services. Come on down if you like, and
I'll just sit up in the front.
I have to bring a second chair up with you.
Hello. Okay. I'm gonna drop this off with you if you want.
Stuart, you can bring the chair up there with you if you like.
Just for you.
And of course, we know both of you, but please state your name and addresses for the record.
Sure. Danielle Carroll, I'm a town resident at 200 Kentmere Avenue, Elkton.
Hi, Stuart Lee, 6 Charles Point, which is in Newark, Delaware.
Very good. So I believe that you guys are coming on board here to talk a little bit about Hartford Bank and what you can bring to the table for the town of Elkton.
Sure. Well, we wanted to come in front of the board in a formal workshop capacity to just express our interest to work in more detail with the town and your financial plans with everything that you're undertaking, all of the growth that's happening, and the fact that we're one of the last surviving community banks in this town who is growing our presence. We've opened additional locations in Elkton. We have 2 brick and mortars, and we're invested in the county and the town here. So, you know, we wanted to make sure that the town was aware that even though we are a community bank, we have the capacity to be able to handle municipality banking needs. We do that for other municipalities across this county and the surrounding counties. We have the ability to secure your deposits and your funding to make sure that you are fully collateralized in whatever types of deposit balances you have. It gives you the opportunity to keep those deposits local, to make sure that they're not having to be invested in different vehicles outside of the town and the county to protect those assets. And we would be happy to talk in greater detail. I do come from a prior bank, so I'm a little familiar with the town's needs. We do have the infrastructure to be able to handle that, and we have the ability to provide those products and services and mirror some of the activities you're currently working with, but also give you the financial partnership to be able to assess what might be coming up as far as needs may go as the town grows and expands. So I just wanted to come in front of you. I wanted to introduce Stuart as our Chief Administrative Officer. Stuart's been a long-time community banker. He goes back to our, he and I's first banking days at County Bank here in Elkton. So, you know, most of our bank is made up of lifelong bankers, and that's how we operate and take care of our customers and our clients. So I just wanted to have any questions. I know we have Steve here, Lois, John, the entire commissioner board and mayor, and see if you guys had any questions for us that we could answer here and ask for the opportunity to talk in more detail.
Danielle, do we currently, I'm 99% sure, we do not have any, or we do have one CD in your bank?
We do.
We do have?
We have one FDIC collateralized account, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to come to you, to let you, the board understand that we have the capacity to guarantee the collateralization of your funds beyond FDIC capacity. So
Now, there's been some language out there, and I think we went through it a few years ago. I think the acronym was CRIM. Does that sound correct? For municipalities, like
what is the GIP? The MLGIP? The MLGIP?
For some reason, I thought the
Oh,
word.
CRIM. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about wealth management from the current financial institute that you use. They call it CRIM. It is a wealth division.
Okay.
So that is, that's unique to Fulton.
Is that something that Hartford has, something unique to Hartford that?
We don't call it that.
Okay.
But we have the ability to manage through those investments versus your operating deposits and hold that kind of capacity where you're getting return on your assets.
So if so that's one part. If we were looking at in need of borrowing money, I guess we would ask for the rate at the time. But what is the maximum amount of dollars that we could borrow?
Sure.
That you guys could lend?
And I'm going to answer that two parts, if you
Okay.
don't mind, just because I know when we've talked about doing potential financing, we can offer the taxable interest rate as well as a tax-free rate because of your municipality status. I know when we went and had that discussion, that wasn't something that I think the town had currently done in the past. So we have the ability to provide lower rates from that tax exempt status. But as far as our lending limits with our FDIC, we hover right under about 7 million.
Perfect. Does anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
About that.
Or anything in general?
I was curious about service to where our residents can pay their water bills. Is that something that,
Absolutely.
because right now, I'm not personally happy with the system that we have. I don't know how that all work?
When my mom was a member of the board, I had talked with her on numerous occasions of the antiquated way in which the bill payments are done. We definitely have some options. I know that you do work with and contractor with certain provider for your online abilities, but we would be happy to talk about different options. There are multiple ways that you can do it that make gateways for the residents to be able to do that electronically. And I think it would be a little more of a deeper discussion.
I mean, right now, am I wrong, like, there's a fee attached and it doesn't, and the money doesn't come over right away?
There's a fee attached for the use of a credit card, which is a fee
Yeah.
we are charged, and we only pass that on so we can continue to collect the full amount of the bill.
Right.
You know, we don't make money on the fee that's charged. And you face it, when you use a credit card, there's a fee. Either the recipient gives only a portion of the bill, or they have to pay the service, the convenience fee.
A credit card, you saw like a debit card?
A debit or credit
Yeah.
card.
Debit or credit, okay.
So Steve's talking about interchange, so there is a cost, so depending on what type of card a consumer or resident in this case was using to pay their bill, there's going to be a certain amount of fee that's passed through to, in your case, municipality. But that's a discussion we can have. There's also alternative ways other than debit and credit that are still electronic.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but like if say I paid my bill today, when does it show up?
As soon as we get the money.
Which isn't immediate, right?
If it's a credit card transaction, we'll know within minutes.
You would.
Yeah.
And if it's not?
You mean
If it's not a
check?
credit card, you mean? If
Mm.
it's debit card would be the same? Credit, debit, whatever?
Yeah, we would get notice right away that the bill has been paid. And we can see it out in real time. If someone goes online from home, they make their payment
Yes.
with the credit card, we would know right away. Within
Oh, I
minutes.
thought there was a delay. I must
Are
have.
you talking about funds received or notice that it's been paid?
No.
I think Sabrina can,
Received.
there's two pay services. There's one pay service,
Okay.
there's one pay service that's unaffiliated with us, correct?
Correct. There's one out there. My name is Sabrina Shaw. I'm the senior billing specialist here with the town. Okay. The town uses Municipay. It's an online bill pay service. It's connected when you go to elkton.org. They click on the little icon, online payment, and they can pay that. Like Steve said, there is a fee that we don't even see the fee at all. It goes directly to Municipay when they use either debit or credit card or even an ACH electronic check. I have been on the phone with people and I walk them through that service and I can tell them, like if they're sitting at their computer, I see as soon as we get it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can see that right that time. Now, when it gets put on their actual account, it does not go right that second against their account for the ladies out front to see. The next morning, when I come in at 8 o'clock, I run a report, and then I give that report to the ladies out front, and then they post it directly to that account.
Okay.
Okay, that's how it gets applied to the customer's account. Okay. The other portion of that is, if I understand, is when does the town actually see those funds in our bank account? Okay, is that?
Yes, I was
that
going
you're
to say,
asking? Okay.
I was asking if that was part of the
Okay.
question.
So that, there is a slight delay for that. I think it's 1 day for ACHs and 2 days for the check, for ACH, for
I
a
think it's a
check.
couple days, business days.
I'm not sure of that, I have to double check the notes, but as far as it hitting the person's individual account, that's the very next day. And if they call us, we can say, yes, I see that. It came through at 2:22 and 33 seconds. I mean, I can tell you exactly what time they did it.
Okay. Is there some other avenue that people are using that is not associated
Yes,
with that?
there's one called Doxo.
Ah.
And
That's
that is a
the one.
nightmare for us, and we have tried to reach out to them. Kathleen's been working on it. I mean, we've reached out to them.
There's
And
memos on the water bill to use the credit.
Well, clear,
www.
Can you allow her to finish explaining what she's saying? Go ahead.
on Doxo's website, it clearly says that they are not affiliated with the town of Elkton. And so, I mean, and we've reached out to them, and we're trying to get them not to do bills for us, but they're their own
Wow.
business plan, and I mean, and they let us know back in emails that our customers that are using them clearly can read the screen that says, hey, look, we're not affiliated with them. So it's on them. Now, what happens with that, they do not send their money electronically to us. They send it by way of paper check, the snail mail way. So we tell people, we try to walk them through because they use that site and they just think it's fine and dandy. Well, it's not, and we're trying to do it at school. We're trying to get from Doxo, I'm not sure how far we've gotten, we've just started working on this like the last couple weeks now. We're trying to get from them, if they can send us a listing of anyone that they have sent checks to us for. Then what our plan, I mean, it's all a process, what our plan is, if we can get that information, we want them to send out letters to, Gene Brumel or Rob Alt saying, hey, we've noticed you use this site, please do not use this in the future. It takes longer. We're also we're being proactive, we're trying to be, and put on our Facebook page and our website, don't use this site.
Okay.
You are subject to late fees possibility and things like that. We're doing what we can.
Okay. That's good to know.
We're also telling people that they don't want to pay the fee that's associated with Municipay. Go through your own personal bill pay system, through APG, through Wells Fargo, through county, through whatever bank. And if you set it up through there, there is no fee. Your bank will just send us the money. Now, I don't know how your bank does it, whether it's ACH or paper check. But we
Depends
tell
on
them
the institution.
that also.
Okay.
So we're trying to get the word out there, how to make the payments the easiest way to save on money.
Thank you. I knew there was a problem somewhere. I didn't.
It's not
know-
us.
It's not you. I had a feeling it had to do with this other entity, but I wasn't sure how it affected us.
One more thing, what we're starting to do, I asked the ladies out front to do it, that if we're not able to get this report or this listing from Doxo, which they're probably not really gonna wanna do it because they know, they're not dumb, they're gonna know we're gonna try to get their business, okay? We're gonna try to, anytime the check comes in from Doxo, is to make a copy of it and get that information and then send that person a letter.
Sounds like a good plan.
I think it's all good discussion, but help me understand your question to Hartford. How was Hartford involved in this? I
No,
guess.
I didn't know if they had a system that would help us process payments, but now I understand how it works.
Yes.
So if I was, a customer of yours, I would just set you up on my bill pay system.
You could, absolutely. You
Okay,
could use your
that's
bill
fine.
pay.
Right.
The Municipay, they have their platform. We offer a platform as well, and any financial bank should be able to offer something like that. But to Steve's point, the cost for either whether you pass it to the resident or you absorb it and what that looks like, is it a standard set fee, is it the actual cost, and that's all things that would vary between different options.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were using like a system that we're paying for, versus
Yeah.
one, okay, I got it.
But I would say, I think we could do more with Hartford Bank, and looking for the opportunities that we can work together. I don't know of any borrowing opportunities that we have soon, maybe. I can't really picture any capital purchases or anything to that degree as of right now, but I think that there's some things that we might be able to do as far as maybe getting some additional deposits over in the Hartford. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, because we definitely, we want to partner with the brick and mortars in our town. Anyone have any questions or comments for Hartford Bank?
That would be my take on it. I would like to form some kind of a partnership with them and support them as they support us. I had one question about this Doxo. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Doxo? I hate to go back to that, but how and why are we affiliated with them? Are we under a contract?
No, we have nothing to do with them.
Can we just like get rid of them?
Well, we can't, we're trying, but we're not affiliated with them, that's the problem. It's like a standalone business, like
So
My
basically
Check
a flow
Free or something
I get it.
like that.
So it's kind of like if you imagine a DoorDash. DoorDash sometimes will set up a
Yeah.
restaurant, and a restaurant didn't authorize to be set up, but they set them up, they copy their menu, and then they send someone there to pick it up, and the restaurant may not even know it's a DoorDash.
Just seems like it's a nightmare for us,
So
based
you're
on
a
Steve's
middleman.
expression, or maybe that's just his expression.
You know, it's.
But,
I think they see where the action is, they go mimic it, and in fact, and people go
Huh.
there not knowing they're going to the incorrect place, and they're surprised that we haven't gotten their payment yet.
Well, I think they're all handling the situation very well, considering that it's problems that were created by,
Well, like we said, we put them back on our
Another
website, we've actually
entity.
printed it on the bills to use the correct website.
okay, good. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Looking forward to that. Okay, next up, we have Angel 8 nonprofit organization, Mr. Jason Nunley.
Yes.
Just a little background, during the election, I ran into this young man, and quite frankly, he intrigued me here, and we had a little conversation, and I felt that there possibly could be, I'd like to hear the story.
Now, is it possible if I could pull up a PowerPoint?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to turn that
Jason, you may not need to turn that. Do you need assistance over there, or are you good?
The power, I should be fine as of right now. It's just loading.
We got a professional with that here.
Okay, there it
It's got to come on the side.
goes. I think it just takes it to the,
There you
Morgan State.
Yeah.
Good state.
Where to go?
Morgan State.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah, so, let me just pull this up really quickly so I can give you guys a little bit of background about myself, okay? A little bit of background about myself and what I plan on doing with Angel 8 in the town of Elkton. Okay, so let me just try this.
There we go.
There we go. All right, so.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yep, of course. So let me just pull this up. And I like to stand up when I present. I like to work the room. I like people to feel my energy. So just bear with me. But once I insert this clicker, we are good to go. All right. So. And then let me just.
This is what hit.
All right, perfect. So, hello everyone, good afternoon. A little bit about myself. My name is Jason Nunley. I'm the president of Angel 8. Actually, let me stand on this side. Get a little bit of room. But I'm a finance PhD student at Morgan State University. Born and raised in Elkton, Maryland. I graduated from Delaware State University in the year of 2020. Skipped my master's, went directly to go get my PhD. Just focused on economic development within distressed communities. Ultimately, that is what Angel 8 stands for. Of course, the 8 has a little bit of signifying significance about it. Of course, when you look at the counties in the state of Maryland alphabetically, Cecil County is the 8th county on there, right? And then also with the significance of the 8, it just signifies infinity, right? So ongoing and flowing from top to bottom. So what is Angel 8? In short, it is a cultural hub and an incubator. I know that the town or the county of Cecil has developed a Cecil market and feasibility study for an incubator, which it progressed for a while, but then for a certain standpoint, they were looking for a director and a navigator to take on that role, hopefully for a full-time position, but ultimately I'm not too sure how far that has progressed from 2015. So this is just a little agenda of today. What is Angel 8? The market, our need for the project, goals and measurable outcomes, partners, sponsorships, opportunities, and then I will conclude with the presentation. So what is Angel 8? Angel 8 in short is a cultural hub making innovation, entrepreneurship, and business ownership attainable through creative workspaces, social stimulation, and programming that builds opportunities for children, families, and communities. Right? So when we look at Elkton as a whole, we understand that there is a downtown district that is flooded with restaurants and other corporations that do occupy this space. Unfortunately, outside of this one street, right, we have to outsource all of our restaurants or event spaces to neighboring communities, such as Chesapeake City when you think of the Chesapeake Inn or Schaefer's, and then Woody's for an example in Northeast. So Angel 8 will establish a location in the town of Elkton centered around bringing economic mobility to the citizens that inhabit or located within this geographical location. So what does Angel 8 offer? Now, given my experience within academic programs from college preparatories to undergraduates at HBCU to a finance PhD. Just a quick note, I am the youngest finance PhD at an HBCU in the entire nation. Right? So, yeah, so this is, thank you. So I have close relationships with a lot of individuals who occupy these type of programs, such as esports, fine arts, robotics, entrepreneurial development, health promotion, summer camp, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. A little bit about myself, I actually just traveled back from Los Angeles June 6th, so on Monday, and I was out there just scoping around possible workspaces that we could implement in this area, and one of the workspaces that I built the business model off of is the Beehive, centered by SoCal. So the Beehive is centered in Southern California, ultimately providing resources to these individuals who are considered economically disadvantaged, right? And so let's look at the market of Angel 8 and what we will accomplish, right? So this is the Cecil County population by race. Now, given this is from 2013 to 2017, this is based off the Community Health Needs Assessment from Cecil County in 2019. We can see that this is the population race of the county as a whole. Majority of the population is 88% white, 7%, roughly 7% followed up by the Black and African American community. Now, the reason why I implemented this overview of the population by race is because I just want to hone in on the next slide. The next slide is poverty by race, right? And you can see that African Americans only account for 7% of the population within Cecil County. But instead, they have the highest poverty by race at 18.9%. Right? And when we think of Elkton as a whole is the largest city within Cecil County. So most of the inhabitants, as far as Black or African American, are centered within Elkton, and they have the highest poverty level. And this is above the federal poverty level, right? And so this is based off concentration. There's an urgent need to address this economic disadvantage within this community. And not only that, you have Asians alone at 18.3% following up. The reason why this excluded Hispanic or Latino origin is because it's of any race, right? So that has an implementation of multiple races being included within that sector. So these are some of the quotes that are drawn from the Community Health Needs Assessment. I want to focus in on these quotes, right? Cecil County residents believe that they can make Cecil County a better place to live. That's the first one. There's an economic opportunity in Cecil County. Cecil County is a good place to grow old. All of these quotes have a significance, and they all seem well. Unfortunately, that's not what was portrayed in the study. What was portrayed in the study is over 30 to 40% of the respondents, as far as surveys, strongly disagree or disagree with these statements.
And what was the scope of the study?
I'm sorry, as far as quality of life in Cecil County. So 30 to 40% of the survey respondents all strongly disagree or disagree with these statements. We don't believe this, but these are what the numbers are telling us, right? And so how do we address this? How do we address these economic disadvantages? How do we address Cecil County to retain its citizens? How do we address Cecil County making it the better place to live as we know it is, right? So what is the need for the project? Why am I presenting Angel 8 to the town today? Well, of course, 9.4% of inhabitants in Cecil County live below the federal poverty level. When you think of that from an aspect of 100,000 inhabitants within Cecil County, and you look at 9.4, that's roughly around 10,000 citizens that are below this level. When Elkton, Maryland is the largest population in Cecil County, with a 56% of households are more likely to be struggling. This is developed from the Community Health Needs Assessment produced for Cecil County. Another thing that I wanted to touch on that really bothered me, right, is this next bullet point. 12.9% of students ages 15 or younger have used prescription drugs without a doctor's prescription in Cecil County. And that's based on the Maryland High School survey in 2018. So that means out of 100 kids, 13 are taking prescriptions. And these prescriptions are oxycodone, Percocets, Vicodin, right? These are all drugs that they have a neurological effect on kids at a very young age. And it carries over into adulthood, which then contributes to the increased crime rate, right? And then not only that, we have over 5 homicides occurring in the first 6 months of 2022. So there's an urgent need to address these situations that are occurring within these communities. And it takes a partnership of, it takes a coalition. It takes a coalition. So this is a map of Elkton, right? And it's color coded. I want to focus in on this. This is from Neighborhood Scout. This is considered Elkton Heights, quote unquote, by them. Yeah. This is the most dangerous zone in Elkton.
I read that. That was extremely upsetting to me.
It is, because
but I don't know where that figure's coming from.
We have a beautiful county. Well,
where are you getting? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but 2 of us live there. And it's probably the safest neighborhood in the town of Elkton.
I agree.
They're
referring to Elkton Heights as this geographic.
Well, it's not Elkton Heights. So I don't want that misinformation out there.
All right, well, that's understandable, but this is from Neighborhood Scout. And I do understand that you may live in this area, but according to the statistics, this area right here,
this is a larger area of Elkton. It crosses over 40 on both sides of 40. It's not one particular neighborhood.
No, it's not at all. Not at all. This is
area.
Yeah, this is an Elkton area. Yes, of course.
Careful.
This
Okay.
is the Elkton area, and this is the most dangerous out of the area.
But Jason, you understand Elkton Heights is a neighborhood.
It's a
within-
neighborhood, yes, so I stand corrected. Apologies for that.
And it reads in here, because I read it too, that Elkton Heights is one of the more dangerous areas around here, and that's
Yeah,
even
I
true.
don't
So-
want this report out there like
Is that source you have there, who's that organization
Yeah.
that you have as a source?
Neighborhood Scout, so they,
Neighborhood Scout.
yeah, so they oversee the crime rates of, nations, well, within, counties or states.
Are they a government entity?
No, I'm not too sure of their
Neighborhood
government
Scout.
entity, but.
Can you tell from
you can-
this map that he's putting up here where this is?
Yeah, that's showing Hollingsworth Manor down here at the
Yeah.
very bottom. It's going
Yeah.
across Route 40. So it's pretty much the whole town.
It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty much the whole town, so that's why I say I stand corrected by,
But not,
by
but not
issuing.
really, because it doesn't cover Normira Heights up in that area either, so.
Okay.
But this is a large area where crime occurs.
So just a suggestion, every police agency has to submit crime stats, and we do that through the uniform crime reporting right now. It's getting ready to change, and it'll be NIBRS, the National Incident-Based Reporting System. But if you go on to, if you're looking at ours specifically, if you go on to the Mountain State Police website,
Yeah.
they give it for all the counties and towns.
Okay.
And that would be a lot more accurate.
lot more accurate.
Well, at least you know where it's coming from. It's coming from the
Definitely.
agencies. We
Definitely.
self-report, so,
Much appreciated.
yeah,
But
just,
thank you for allowing me to
Of course,
discuss that with you.
this
because
is what this presentation is for.
I just
Ultimately.
wasn't, it needs to be worried about, you know.
But but nonetheless,
Okay.
there is a need to address the crime rate that is
I
occurring
agree.
within the town of Elkton. Regardless of a specific neighborhood, overall, there needs to be an urgent need for that. And that's what Angel 8 is presenting. Angel 8 is presenting a community development where kids can come through and learn, an incubator for entrepreneurs, creators, and corporations to not only participate in opportunity zone tax breaks, but have the opportunity to participate in ESG investing, which is also social impact investing, giving back to distressed neighborhoods within these, that are designated as economically disadvantaged, right? And so,
So as you put this together and as you see it, how do you consider the source of the people who's given it to you? Because as I look at this, and I'm like the people here who live up yonder,
Yeah.
don't have crime there, but I see similar statistics or drawings or writing dealing with a lot of real estate. When you see it in the newspaper or online, who come up with some of the same things that are not true. I'm not knocking what you have, I just wonder how much belief do you have in the report that is given to you? Does that make sense?
yeah, so as far as like the information that's presented to me about the certain.
Right, like you just presented, and you talked about their neighborhood, and I know that's an untruth, but how do we get an untruth here? Unless you consider the source, so who put that together, that's all I'm saying. But go ahead, don't let me stop you from that.
No, of course. I mean, that's a great point. That's a great point. It provides credibility.
Jason, I'm waiting for you to finish, I mean, not finish, to do the presentation. And it's good what you're doing,
Yeah.
but I'm just sitting here, I'm fascinated on how I go back to Booth Street, Collins Street, Bells Lane, these are all in Elkton, Hollingsworth Manor. Now, these are areas that was targeted before, and as a police officer or chief, they'll tell you, oh, these were the bad areas, these were the neighborhoods that was considered as, and I'm just using this as living here for 65 years.
Right.
I hear and I see and how it affects certain people in their area, because I know where they're talking about. It ain't what this is saying it is.
Yeah.
And with the information that you're giving, and we're accepting the presentation, so some false information that's being portrayed here to us. And I mean, you can't accept something that's false.
So that's false, of course.
But some people, and not I might as well go in while I'm in here now. You showed figure on figure 3 of your presentation that was documented from 2013 to 2022.
Yeah, this
The
report.
population has changed dramatically since then.
This report,
And wait a minute, let me explain. Black citizens, only we probably got less living in Elkton on those certain streets or high areas
Yeah.
because they're moved someplace. And I'm just saying, these facts are not for me, are not factual.
Unfortunately, this is community health needs assessment.
Okay,
It's
so-
the most current report for Cecil County, and in the terms of
Okay,
this,
well,
these figures are directly pulled from that report, and that report was issued to the county alone.
so it all
What's the date
depends
for
on
that report though?
But, so this report was released in 2019. That's the latest report.
So it's at least 3 or 4 years old, right?
Yeah, and that's the best data that we can pull from as far as.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish, but like I said, I'm a little bit taken with some of the information that I'm
I mean,
getting.
the information is very pressing. It sits unwell. It does. It really does. Because these are some of the things that we don't necessarily, we don't want to see, right? Like, we don't want to see this in the county. We don't want to see this within our communities. But these are the statistics that are derived from the community health needs assessment dedicated from this organization.
I would like to, and listen, I will agree that the statistics to a degree are correct. And I say that because we do a great job of making a lot of arrests, and there's these statistics that go to these real estate companies, whether it's Neighborhood Watch, or what's the other one I'm trying to think of? There's 2 or 3, Modiva, there's 3 or 4 of them, but they base all their information on 100,000 people. So when you, just to make sure we're all clear, I'm not doubting your information that they showed you up there, but they base it on 100,000. So for example, I believe that we have had 5 homicides this year, correct?
You were looking at countywide. you're
Yeah,
saying.
countywide.
Countywide, that wasn't all in Elkton.
Okay,
That
so
was
we-
countywide. but
Yeah.
We have had a couple homicides
We have
this year.
this year.
This year. Just recently, we've had a few. And and what this organization will do, they'll base ours on 100,000 people.
Yeah.
So-
And so that's why the reason why the dangerous or danger zone is exceedingly high, because of
It's
it's
based
only
on,
based on 100,000.
and they base it upon only 20 municipalities in the state of Maryland.
Correct.
They only base it on 20. So we could always put the spin when you see the data that comes out and it says that Elkton is one of the most dangerous areas. I could almost say to you, quite frankly, we're one of the 20 safest
Right. Of course.
communities,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Because they only use 20, and it's based on municipalities over 10,000 people, and then they multiply it to get to 100,000. So, for example, if we had 250 arrests at Walmart in a year, and and we got 17,000 people, so now you multiply that by 7 or 8, it actually shows on these statistics that we have 2,500.
A strong concentration, right?
That's correct. But I do agree, I understand where you got your information.
Yeah,
Well, and
so,
I would further talk about the stats and that the Elkton Police Department historically we capture every single offense that's reported to us in our UCR data. And I know for a fact not every agency does that. And so part of that's just because we're so good at self-reporting everything. So
yeah,
I
and
just
so,
wanted to kind of-
I just want to make note that
Thank you.
this presentation is not to discredit anyone's work within the town of Elkton, but there is a need, there is social determinants that needs to be addressed for economic mobility within these communities and the town as a whole. I think that there is a social responsibility from all our leaders, all the corporations that do employ citizens within the town of Elkton, as well as building a pipeline to Cecil College. with further in relation to the strategic planning of Cecil County, right? And this is just focusing on economic development and implementing education, and honestly saying that education is important within our town. So by building this center, by building and implementing these type of resources, we can see further growth within, as far as educational pipelines to Cecil College, economic mobility within incomes within certain households, and also just a social responsibility for all. I think there is really no place for individuals, as far as the COVID era, to go to a location without the need for alcohol, without the need for bars or that type of setting, and actually sit down and do your work and socialize. Now, we do have libraries, for instance, of course, Northeast with the reestablished facility. But unfortunately, when you go in there, it's quiet. You can't necessarily talk. There's no socialization going on. There's a removal of that cultural barrier. So in order to build that and that cultural and implement the cultural significance within the county, I think an Angel 8 Business Center is needed. And I also have developed some certain potential partners, of course, starting with the town of Elkton. So the town of Elkton, as I look through the financial budget, there is little economic development head, right? And this budget was actually zero for the administrator. And so my proposal, at least today, to the town of Elkton is to entrust in me, entrust in Angel 8, entrust in the leaders that I entrust in to make a change within this community. We have continued to reach out to supporting organizations. We have continued to make a presence within the community alone. For my 24th birthday of this year, I held a shoe drive, and we gave out over 100 shoes at the VFW downtown. So these are some of the things that we want to do for the community. These are some of the things that that needs to be done for the community. I love Elkton. I would hate for it to have two stories, right? I would hate for it to have two stories of one side is actually great, and then you look underneath of the surface, and there's some areas that need a little bit more of a push, a little bit more of a communicative breakdown through that barrier for them to access this next portion of their life as far as income equality. And so I have other organizations on here, such as Union Hospital, Cecil County Public Schools, Cecil College, Cecil County Chamber of Commerce, and then other corporations and organizations that reside within Cecil County. And I think this will be a great coalition for everybody to come together and show that we have social responsibility, show that we do support distressed communities, and do show that we do have a caring heart within us, and to bring people to the next level. And just far as my experience within economic development, in my undergrad, we developed a circular economy for food waste within the city of Dover. And this is just for municipal waste to come through, pick up waste from neighboring restaurants, and then they take it to a warehouse and they develop these they have systems in place to redevelop food, so growing mushrooms and things of that nature. But this is also a circular economy, because America as a whole is just known to be wasteful when you look at consumption levels as far as neighboring nations or competitive nations. So the goals of Angel 8 is to support community revitalization efforts and the development of mixed-use economy, to increase the Cecil County efforts to create a flexible and streamlined environment for business development that eliminates barriers for entrepreneurs, business recruitment and retention, and then promote ultimately an inclusive county image on all aspects by bridging academics, industry experts, entrepreneurs, and organizations dedicated to economic mobility. And then some of our measurable outcomes that we will see from developing an Angel 8 Center is directly job creation, patents utilized, increase in products and services, and also capital raised through funding in state and federal contracts. And then indirectly, we will see revenue in the tax base, and also by diversifying the economic base in not only the town of Elkton, but Cecil County alone. When we look at our economic basis, majority from warehousing that employs majority of our citizens. But as we start to move on as far as the industry, I think it's a need to implement higher skill sets for higher wage jobs to bring in these income taxes within the town of Elkton. And then in conclusion, this center will produce a prominent and social economic determinants of economic mobility for youth, families, and communities. The business campus will offer mentoring, advisory services, financial planning, as well as alternative educational opportunities. So this is for students interested within STEM, coding, things of that nature. These are high-paying jobs. And even if you look at healthcare benefits, one of the top industries that have the best healthcare benefits is IT. And so as more as we develop our citizens within IT, we have better, our healthcare is addressed within the county as a whole. And then Cecil County as a whole can overall be a top location for corporations and individuals, just given its geographical location. But there needs to be an infrastructure in place on all aspects, on all fronts, in all communities, before outsourcing and bringing corporations in prior to the population growth that Elkton is about to experience within the upcoming years. And I want to end this presentation with a quote. Be the change you want to see in the world. And that concludes my presentation. If there's any questions or concerns.
What kind of brick and mortar do you need?
So in need really a warehouse, just an underutilized warehouse, and then from there, it really doesn't take more. It doesn't really take much as far as renovations. It's really just about the broadband. It's really just about tables and desks. But ultimately, it's creating that environment where you want to come in, you want to socialize, you want to learn, you want to see if this person is sitting next to me, I want to talk to them. I want to learn something from them. I want to collaborate, right? We have to have this type of environment because outside of that, the only other location that we have is Cecil College. And if it's not Cecil College, if you don't have the means or the income to attend this type of institution, then your next choice is a bar. And I think that for me personally, I've always been dedicated towards education. Education has changed the trajectory of my life. Just given my current statement earlier that I am the youngest in the finance PhD program at the HBCU in the nation. So I can see how these type of statistics can be unsettling, but in some way, shape, or form, they are present.
Have you thought about partnering with somebody like the Paris Foundation, who's looking to build something down in one of these, troubled communities that we've identified as a hotspot?
Yeah, so I've looked at the Paris Foundation. I haven't reached out to any contacts, but if you happen to know any that would love to, partner with us, I'm all for it. And really today was just to give the proposal of Angel 8 and see if the town of Elkton would be reluctant to support our initiatives on changing the dynamic within these communities.
Jason, I tell you, I appreciate the presentation and let us digest this a little bit.
Of course, of course. If anybody else would like to receive the report, I only printed out 5 due to staple running low on their papers. But feel free to shoot me your email or give me your contact card, and I'll feel free.
Michelle, can you send Jason's contact to the whole group?
I'll feel free to shoot my information to any and everybody.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate it.
Of course.
Yes.
All right, next up, we have the Neighborhood Youth Panel. Come on down. Then I'm gonna add behind you, we're gonna put the Forestry Department in right behind the Neighborhood Youth Panel. We've got a full agenda today, don't we? Woo! How are you doing?
I'm good, and it's great to be here. It's good to see everybody, all the friendly faces. I think last year when I made my annual update, you were recovering from COVID virus there, I believe.
I was, yeah.
So it's
Thank
good
you,
to see
Jason.
a lot of the same folks. And hopefully y'all are familiar with the Neighborhood Youth Panel. We are a juvenile offenders program, and we've been in Elkton since 2008, so 14 years, going on 15. And we've been in Cecil County since 2000, so almost 22 years there. And Elkton has been, of course, it's the county seat, so we are pretty happy with the number of youth that we've served this year. We've had 85 to date this year. So, of course, the year's not over yet. And almost half of those were from Elkton. And we do work with the police departments throughout Cecil County, including the Elkton Police Department. We work with the schools. We work with the Department of Juvenile Services. And the dynamics of the program has changed over the years. Since I started doing it in 2000, it was exclusively a diversion program, which means that youth that receive a criminal charge from the police were given this opportunity to avoid having it on their juvenile record. So they were diverted from the juvenile justice system. And over the years, we still provide those services. However, we kind of developed and changed and offered. We now offer a number of interventions to the youth that we work with. We work directly with the schools, which has been recent in the last few years. Specifically, we work with vape interventions. There's going to be some more changes that have occurred recently that hopefully will serve even more youth at the schools. So we provide a number of interventions. We offer a number of classes. We do life skills classes. We are partnered with a number of organizations in the county. We do a drug and alcohol intervention in which we partner with Dexter Recovery House in Northeast. So their folks talk to the kids. We have an Adopt a Highway section right on Route 279 that we take care of. We work with Susquehanna Workforce Center. They provide some career counseling and testing for youth that we work with. We've been working with High Road students all this whole school year. We provided 8 classes for their population there.
And what was that?
High Road School is Providence School, so that's the alternative school. It's right here in Elkton. It's outside town.
It's a Providence.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
didn't know it was called High Road.
Yes. A lot of people actually do not know about that, so thank you for asking. So that was a unique experience for us this year to work with that population. It was very rewarding. So we hope to do that again this coming year. I wanted to mention that the Neighborhood Youth Panel staffing consists of myself and a part-time employee. So we have a number of volunteers that work with the program, including Chief Rogers here. That I think we do provide a lot of services for fairly, limited resources that we had to work with. So we have really very good track record with the youth that we work with. The vast majority of the youth do complete the program. And we do survey participants after, and many of them are, most of them are satisfied with the program. We've done, you can see 175 service hours this year to date, over 26 projects, and we've offered 32 life skills classes. So, we've had a number of challenges in the last 3 to 4 years, even before COVID. The Department of Juvenile Services had made virtually all the referrals to this program for diversion. So they would receive referrals from police in their office and then screen them and send us the ones that were appropriate. So they were either first-time or low-risk offenders. They changed their policy back in 2019 wherein they would, once they received it, they would have to handle it there. So we've changed our relationship with DJS. They still send us youth for intervention. So the youth that they're working with, they're extremely limited in resources as far as having things that they can do with youth to help, change their behavior and hold them accountable. So we work with a number of their youth. And then, of course, COVID was pretty dramatic. We had a pretty dramatic downturn in referrals through 2021. But I think we're back up to more normal numbers. In 2018, we served 140 some kids. That this year we have 85 to date. So, and the year's not over. So I feel much more comfortable with that. That was a real concern there for a while because we had to develop a closer relationship with law enforcement agencies in the county in order to get those direct referrals from them and with the schools. With some other agencies, state's attorney's office sends us, we're trying to network with all the various youth serving agencies in the county. So that has been a challenge. And over the summer this year, there's been a very recent change that took place on June 1st with the state of Maryland and juvenile law, wherein they said that any youth 13 and under cannot be charged with a crime unless it's very, very serious. So that's going to impact a lot of the youth serving agencies in the county. And we're trying to, at this point, figure out what that's going to look like. And it may impact the neighborhood youth panel in a positive way. We're hoping because like vape offenses in the schools, there's going to be a number of offenses that they want to have, they may have formally had the police involved, where, we can step in and act as, to hold them accountable for whatever they're doing at school. And then we're also hoping that, we're going to need the support of the police agencies where, if they respond to a call where a parent wants their child to be held accountable for something they may have done, we can do that. That's just going to change what it looks like a little bit. We're going to need the cooperation of the families, which really, that's been the case as long as the program's been in existence. The families and youth that we work with do it voluntarily. They know that they're getting an opportunity, and they agree to work with us and do what we give them to do. And like I said, a vast majority of them do complete the program. Now we've worked on rebuilding our relationship with the police, the schools, with our volunteers. We have a number of volunteers throughout each town in Cecil County. So these folks, they sit in on hearings with youth that we're working with. They assign them an action plan. A lot of times they can work with them one-on-one as a mentor. We have, like I said, a number of partners that we're doing other interventions with. We've continued, a few years ago, I think it was 2015, we received a grant and started implementing community conferencing, which is a form of mediation. So it's a way to resolve conflicts in the community or at school or even within families. So we've been offering that with a lot of success. However, we didn't receive the funding the past couple of years. We got it for 2 years. So we did reapply for that. We've continued to offer it, and it's been really very successful. So we want to keep that tool available for people to use. I It's challenging because we do have limited staffing. We used to have a coordinator just for Elkton, and she is no longer with us. So I'm basically enabling the entire county, along with an assistant who provides a lot of our educational services. And we use volunteers, you know, wherever we possibly can, and
That was going to be my main question, is how are you and one other person
you know,
doing this?
It's a challenge, it really is, and, you know, we are available when people are available. So like, for example, Saturday, we were out on the road picking up trash, you know, because that's when kids are available, you know. And we meet here for our hearings, our youth panel hearings, and we use the community center all the time. We're in there a couple times a week. We try to, you know, let kids know what's available out there for them, so they can stay engaged longer than we have them. We go down to Hollingsworth Manor to the family center down there, and we meet with them there, you know, letting the kids live in Hollingsworth Manor, and it's more convenient for them. So, you know, we're out there all the time. And, you know, we just do what we can, and if we need to change, we change. But I just want to let you know that our partnership with Elkton is extremely valuable. Chief Rogers is fantastic to work with. She's on our board. You know, we really do appreciate your support, and we have requested financial support from the town this year, as you supported us in past years. So we really do appreciate that.
It was approved.
Thank you for that, we appreciate it. We do try to support the events that you have, like Fall Fest and the fishing rodeo. Just recently, we had some kids working there. Chief, you know, she cares about the kids. If you all didn't know that, she really does. And she steps out well out of her realm of, you know, duties as a police chief to help them out. Okay, and we have some really good volunteers as well. So I'm just, you know, like I said, you just familiar faces, you're committed to the town, we're committed also. Okay?
Thank you.
And we have a really good, you know, the kids that do the youth panel, many of them do not reoffend. It's only about 10% over the entire life of the program. It's been very consistent. And it just, as comparison, kids that go through juvenile services, 12 months, 45%, this is the same population, probation youth, reoffend, 45% of them reoffend, so, compared to with our 10. And that's 18 months, so we monitor them longer.
If I remember correctly, the school system used to send kids to the Providence School or the high roads.
Yeah,
and then they would go there X amount of time, and if they do what they're supposed to do, they return back to the high school. So my question to you.
The program has developed over the years too. They had many.
So I'm saying, what do you all do? Assist the school system with those kids, and most of them sometime are behavior problems, or those who just don't do well academically as well.
Yeah, they have a couple different populations there. They have youth that are there permanently at High Road School, and then they have youth there that are there for a temporary basis, for a, you know, an offense that they committed at school, you know, some type of behavioral issue. The population that we work with this year was the permanent students that are there. And we just met with the youth this past week that, at Cherry Hill, actually, that he is a High Road student also, which over the summer, we're gonna have a lot of meetings with a lot of folks, including that. I wanna educate myself more about the different programs that, because we work with a lot of that population.
And the reason why I asked that question, and I won't prolong you long, because I see as one of your challenges and barriers, you say receiving referrals from the school. How does that become a barrier?
That is where a source of our referrals
come from.
Yes, and they come from the police, they come from DJS, and then a couple of the other agencies to a lesser degree, like I mentioned, the State's Attorney's Office, Maryland Coalition of Families, and we had to get some parent referrals too. You know, a lot of times parents will even be looking for something and they get.
And my understanding, some people, well, not some, well, yeah, a portion of these kids are not really bad students, but there's the only alternative they have in order for them to stay in school is to go into this program so that they can continue with their education, right? Isn't that?
I'm not sure if that's
before-
100%
Let me reword it. Some kids that got into fights,
Right.
but they have never been in trouble, but then they're sent to this, to the school up in.
Yes,
Providence.
exactly.
And that's where I'm saying, some kids are not really bad kids, but then they have no other alternative but to either go to this school, because now they got into a fight, and they're gonna kick the whole school, or either they're gonna have to go to the school. Am I right about that?
Yes, and
Okay.
one of our main goals, and ongoing goal, is to work with the schools. I mentioned community conferencing a little while ago, and that is a really underutilized tool that, especially in schools, can be used when there's a conflict brewing amongst kids or maybe teachers and students or something like that, where it can be resolved. It's really amazing what can be accomplished just getting in a room together and talking it through. You know, people are held accountable to a higher degree than they would be if you were only getting one side of the story, you know? And it needs to be used more before these things turn into fights or whatever, you know, where it's an assault or some charge against someone.
Well, basically, Earl, when this system came out, I was in the system then, and I know you tried to exalt every measure in the school because of the child's behavior to prevent that child from going there. But it comes to a point where whatever you have done, it just doesn't work. And sometimes you gotta isolate that child in what you call a high road school, and that's where they go. They go there and they do well, then they return back to the school system.
It was
And
really,
it works.
yeah, it was really an eye-opener working with them this year because, you know, we knew they were there and we knew what it was, but we weren't working directly with them. And it was a way to find out kind of what happens there, what they do and what it's like to be. And a lot of the kids really do like it a lot, and they work with them, you know, pretty, you know, small groups, and they get a lot of attention. You know, and a lot of them are there permanently. So it's really been valuable, I think, working with them.
Can I
this
ask
year.
you a question about volunteerism?
Yes.
How can you be a volunteer if you are not, like, educated in a child behavior?
Okay. That's a valid question, and I actually did want to invite anybody here, including, especially commissioners and mayor, to come out to one of our hearings or conferences. If you would like to do that, we would welcome that. Now, we do use community volunteers as panel members, and what we have a screening process for that. They have to live in the community or work in the community that they're serving, and there's an age requirement, a background check, and we do some training. It's really not necessary, I think, to have the whole psychological background for child behavior to be a volunteer. You just have to want to work with youth and be a good role model. A lot of these kids just are not, maybe they made a stupid mistake, but maybe their home life is not ideal. And maybe they don't have any role models. Maybe they've never had an opportunity to work on a farm and throw some hay, you know, and maybe they get that with us. And they're like, wow, everybody doesn't live like I do. They don't always realize that until they get out there. And it can be a good opportunity. Maybe, yeah, you got in trouble, but maybe this is a good way for you to, you know, maybe it's a good thing that happened, that you can learn from it, and that's what's important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Do we have any other questions?
No. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I squeezed up next on the agenda. We have some members of the forestry. Come on down. Tell us what you got.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a map to show, which I think will be very interesting in light of Jason's maps, but unfortunately I don't have it on PowerPoint.
Okay.
So, I'm here representing the Cecil Forest Conservancy District Board, also called the Forestry Boards, which is much simpler. We have...
And your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Gabrielle Oldham.
Okay.
And the vice chair, sitting back there, I think most of you know. Andy.
Ron.
Ron Anderson. And we worked with Elkton many years ago. We did a lot of tree planting, especially in Meadow Park. I think over by the pond, there's a large stand of pines. And over, let's see, coming down Delaware Avenue, right before the bridge on the right-hand side, there are several trees there. And then also on the left-hand side, when you drive around the circle, right as you're coming around the back side, there's also a stand of trees. We actually had to wear waders to plant those.
There's cypress.
Those are the ones we need waders for. So we did those tree plantings years ago, and we're interested in really developing a relationship with the town again. I think Ron mentioned that we have our own funds, but those funds will probably be disappearing in about 6 or 7 years. And what we want to do is we want to start relationships with the towns and with the county, so that when that time comes around, that we will be an established entity again. What's going to help us with this is that Maryland legislature in 2021 passed a law called the Tree Solutions Now Act. And Maryland is slated to plant 5 million trees by 2030. And they are focusing on underserved areas. And they have a map. Let me get this pulled up. But what we would like to be able to do is really offer our expertise, and we're a volunteer board to help with the tree planting initiative, because with 5 million trees across the state of Maryland, it gives all municipalities a chance to really do some tree planting.
Would these trees be planted on municipal lands, or could it be, we've got a lot of robust growth going on in our community, and we're going to have a lot of development happening, and these developers are required to do a lot of plantings. Would that be something they could partner with you to get the plantings from, or would that be, we could use some of your plantings to add to?
Actually, for the first time, they're saying that this can happen on public and private land.
Okay.
Traditionally, it was all public land. They weren't really going to be planting trees in somebody's yard, but with 5 million trees, they're going to have to be planting on private land, because there's just no place. The reason that we have funds now is because 30 years ago, BG&E could not find a place to do mitigation. They had 31 acres, or a little over 30 acres, that they had to mitigate, and they could not find any place to plant it. And so they turned to DNR and they said, we can't find it, you show us where to do it. And the state said, we can't find it either. So then they had to pop up some money, and the regional forester for the central region, which includes Cecil County, had the brilliant idea of saying, let's not dump it into the state coffers, because that's just a black hole. And instead, because the mitigation was to occur in Cecil County, they said, let's give it to the forestry board with these parameters, and that was 30 years ago, and we still have some of that money left. So we feel we've been good stewards of the money. We have planted well over 30 acres with it, along with many other things that we have done.
So,
Now, is this trees and shrubs?
trees,
Just
actually. And there'll be
trees.
the native trees, and part of the program is not just planting the trees, but maintaining the trees. So if you do, 1,000 tree planting, but you don't maintain them, then that doesn't really count toward the 5 million trees. They have to be maintained. And that's really important. And they also need to be native trees for this. So, oh, okay, I am not connected. This thing, I'll show this map.
Should be.
Is there a quota in Cecil County for the number of trees?
There's only 5 million trees for Maryland.
Okay, do all
That's-
23 counties have to find space for these trees?
I don't know that anybody's required to, there's no requirement on this, but, that, any place that you want to plant trees, then the money will be found. There are grant programs through the Chesapeake Bay Trust. There are probably going to be grant programs through a lot of other organizations and agencies.
What's the source of the trees?
Oh, the DNR. DNR has a nursery down the Eastern Shore.
Are they just seedlings and that?
Right, yes, and they may be, there's also the Tremendous program, which are bigger trees. I'm not sure that they've really worked out all these kinds of details yet. So we're just waiting
I was
to
going
see.
to say, if they're seedlings, they do require a lot of maintenance.
Yes, they do.
Because they could be eaten by beavers really easily. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, well, so can the Tremendous trees too.
Yeah, that's-
I've lost several, really, I've lost bigger trees to the beavers.
We had
They're not my friend.
a project down along the Big Elk Creek, and we had to plant about, 50 or 75 little seedlings, and the beavers had the biggest time with them. We didn't get one of them.
Have you been in touch with our town planner, Jean Minner? Have you met Jean Minner before?
She's our tree hugger.
Jean is our town planner.
Oh, man.
And actually, I think that's where we go with this conversation, is we'll put you in touch with Jean Minner, our town planner, and she would be the one that could determine how we can help with this. Now, I know right away, I know of a lot of trees we can get rid of. Along Elk Landing, I think we could do a lot of trees down through there, and
That's fine. And actually, one of the pushes that they're doing is to do tree planting in underserved areas where tree planting has traditionally never happened before. And I'm trying to connect to.
Generated is the same map Jason showed me.
Yeah, generally, what we have is the same map that Jason had for underserved, underserved areas. And basically what they mean by underserved areas are areas that, areas that have traditionally low income, and also areas that, it was very interesting, a neighborhood that was at any point in time redlined or graded as hazardous by the Homeowners Loan Association, and also any areas that have high unemployment. And basically, the map that, and this map was produced by the state of Maryland, and it pretty much reflects what Jason's map shows. But I have to tell you, I was looking at that going, wow, that's the entire town of Elkton. And I moved the map over to the northeast area to see what that showed, and it showed nothing above Route 40, which means it didn't show Lakeside in that underserved area. So I'm not really sure who's putting all this stuff together, but they're just not really doing it very accurately.
I guess a cherry blossom tree isn't a native tree, or is it?
I think we do have we do have native cherry trees. We have a lot of fruiting native trees. Serviceberry is a small understory tree
that flowers in the spring. But white oaks would also be very good trees to plant because they support like 3,000 or more different, 300 or more different species. Bugs and birds.
I can see the Elkton Heights with a beautiful new set of trees through the center.
Well, you know, I was looking at the map last night, and I'm sorry I'm having a hard time.
No, don't worry about it. I think we get the gist of what, I think we need to get you in contact with Gene Minner. And I will tell you that we are 100% supportive of planting trees.
That's great.
Okay?
We will be glad to.
Absolutely happy to do it.
I think she'll be thrilled.
Yeah, to help with any projects you have and getting, organizing and getting volunteers out, making sure the trees are planted green side up and all those little details.
We were struggling, I think there's, and if Jean was here, she could probably answer it for us, but we have a fund that we've collected. I think it's trees in lieu of. It's they'll give, the developers would give us cash instead of trees, is that right?
Forest conservation.
Right.
So we've collected because sometimes you can't plant,
Right.
but it was never really allowed on public lands neither, or private lands.
Well, the 5 million tree initiative, the trees can be planted on private land.
I need 10 trees, so. So yeah, 4 million. Well, listen, thank you so much, and does anyone have any questions? I think we can do something, and we will absolutely, if you could get to Michelle and get her your contact information, we're going to get you tied up with Gene Minner.
That's great.
Okay? And really appreciate it.
Thank you both for coming in.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
I'll get the pool and shoot.
Eventually,
At least one game.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to skip over the review of the Town Code Title I real quickly, and I want to go right into the non-billed water sewer accounts. I think, because I don't want to keep anyone here after 2 o'clock today. 2 hours is plenty. Full agenda. Okay, so what we have is a worksheet in front of you, non-billed water and sewer accounts. And over the years, we've had, I guess, Steve and Sabrina and Michelle have worked on bringing this to our attention. And you know, over the years, and I'm going to try to explain it, but if I'm incorrect in how I'm explaining this, please tell me I'm incorrect, because I'm reviewing it kind of for the first time also. But over the years, the town of Elkton has grandfathered a lot of accounts that received, quite frankly, as a donation and a service to our community. We've given a lot away, a lot of free water and sewer customers, and we've been doing these water audits. I know for the last 7 or 8 years that we're trying to find where some of the lost water is in the town. And as we're still going through this, we're finding, we're trying to put together some actual numbers on what we're finding and not finding. So I want to start with the long spreadsheet, the non-billed properties. So if I can explain this to the board properly and interrupt me, Sabrina, you want to come up here and sit? Okay. So to kind of explain what we've got here, in the light blue is the properties that are not town of Elkton properties, but they are getting free water and sewer, and as you can see, they're listed. Most of them are churches, the fire company, and so forth. But I think what you want to look at is the annual usage of these, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, looks like 13 properties that are getting free water and sewer. I want you to look at their annual usage. And when you look down through there, and to put this in perspective, I think our thinking was when we did this, we would give 9,000 gallons, I think is our minimum quarterly bill. And So if you times that by 4, 36,000 is probably a good number of water that we thought would be used into these locations. But as you can see, there's one location here in one church that is using 102,000 gallons per year. The Singerly Fire Company at one location is 1,247,618. Then you have the library at 54,000. A couple more of the fire stations, quite a bit more. And then we have two more churches that are well over 100,000. One's the Elkton UMC, and the other on Curtis Avenue is at 167,000. So this is brought to the table for us to take a look at, and I'm not asking for any direction today, but did I explain that kind of what we're looking at here? What I'm asking the board is that we need to come up with something that either well, first and foremost, we don't have to donate anything. We can make the decision. But if we do donate, how much do we want to donate to these organizations, these nonprofit organizations? And I think there's some that are seriously taking advantage of us here, right?
I'd like to know why some of these numbers are where they are.
Well, I would say that when you look at the fire company, it's definitely based upon them refilling their tankers.
Well, it doesn't make sense, does it? Or is it just that they all go to that one station?
Well, that's what didn't make sense to us neither. I think they're going to station 3 is using 4 times as much water as station 13. And it makes no sense.
No, I think, yeah.
Follow up with.
Yes. Well, that was the question. You know, are they filling up their tankers there, or maybe there's a leak somewhere?
Right, exactly.
Because it's free, so maybe they're not really, so we're doing the follow-up on those, correct? Okay, so...
So not to cut you off, I'm assuming that any church basically that are listed here, they don't pay the bill, which I know. But then are you counting, are you tracking those churches that are here that you have no list of? Like Wright's Church, of course, I don't know why they don't have numbers, and you can find out later.
I do have that.
But then right down the street, you got Abundant Life, and it's not listed there at all. And that's a church.
And I think that, I think Sabrina can speak to this more than I can, but at the end of the day, we're collecting all of these different addresses and different.
And that's what I'm giving you right now. And then right up the road, you also have on 213, Abundant Life Church. It's not listed here. It's been in Elkton.
5 Rivers?
No, I'm sorry, Christ Unity Center.
Okay, gotcha. I know what
It's
you're
right
talking
beside
about.
Walnut.
Yeah, I gotcha. I know
And
what
it's
you're
not
talking
listed
about.
there either, so you see something, I'm talking about numbers for you.
So the question is, maybe they're not even listed, and they may not have a meter, and they've never been checked, so that's... Yeah.
But it's lost water.
So you use, there's blankage on Wrights, and the reason why it's blanked on Wrights was that there was a reading done in 17, there was a reading done in 18, there was a reading done in 22, and all the numbers were the same. So the question that I have, when we say, is the meter working?
I don't know. We just started going through all this audit stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something that I noticed, that we had no usage for it, so I went back through prior years, and that's where, and I mean, I know I skipped 19, 20, 21, because I figured, what's the point of listing it? But it's that same reading
Yes.
every year. So that's why I did an email earlier today, and I sent it to, DPW and Michelle and everything, and saying, we need to get in there and we need to look at that to see if it is stopped. There are a few others that we are not getting readings for, or that we have the readings for, not churches, but Eder Park, Meadow Park, things like that, that I brought to the attention and said, okay, it's the same reading that it has been for the last year or the last 2 or 3 years. Why? Is it broken? What's happening? If the same reading, that's what I do when I evaluate things.
And Sabrina, when you say the same reading, so we physically went out there and wrote those numbers. Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So Wrights is one that stayed consistent. Eder Park, also, we need to see if the meter has stopped, because there's a pit meter and it's been the same reading since 17, right? And once again, these would be free services to these organizations, but from a tracking of our water and sewer, we got to make sure
That's right.
that is correct.
And that little church on Curtis Avenue looks like it has a leak.
No, there are.
We're actually thinking that they're claiming it's a church. We're thinking that there's a possibility that people are living
There
there.
are living quarters behind it using the same.
So we're not sure how to get in there to verify. I don't know if that's a zoning or I don't know who can get in there to verify what the facilities are in there. But that's something that we need to do.
Exactly.
And there's no meter at the Alliance office neither, we found. Which, that kind of surprised me a little bit, that there's never been a meter. That was Old Town Hall, and then...
Well, someone said there was a meter, but they're thinking now that maybe there's been, you know, remodeling or renovations or something, and maybe it's covered up in a wall or something, and no one knows where it is. There's been several people down there that have looked for it, and so now we're looking on getting someone to put a yoke in and then a meter installed.
I think the main thing is, you know, going back through, we're replacing all the meters in town. I think it's been a directive from the board for the team to know, we want meters on everything, and we want working meters on everything. And then when, I think whoever the future board will be at some point, I think that every one of these properties that we're giving free water and sewer to, they need to be billed. But when we bill them, it would say, thank you for this is your donation, or whatever, we handwrite the note. But what it does for them, it shows that it's not, they see the value of the service. I mean,
That's true.
when I'm looking at Singerly Fire Company, has been in here asking, I feel a little bit better now that I know that we're giving them $25,000 in water and sewer. I feel a little bit better, right? I was starting to feel bad. Now I'm feeling a little bit better that the town of Elkton is donating that.
Well, can we have some feedback on this as far as the questionable locations, maybe next month or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I like to hear about this church on Curtis Avenue.
Yes.
And have a resolve. I'd like to hear from Singerly on why that's 6 times more than Station 13 or whatever it is.
And I agree with Gene. I think that I'd like to have an update every month until we clear all these up.
Yes.
How's that sound? Does that sound good?
Perfect.
And then there's a church as you come off of Brick Street and make the right turn. And what church is that there?
Oh, yeah.
That's our,
Trinity Episcopal.
that's our sewer
Oh,
plant.
Elkton Boulevard.
It was
Elkton Boulevard.
cleaning
Yeah.
the water.
If you all that are living in the town and you know those places, because I'm not, if you think of a church or another place that's not on the non-build, please send me an email, write it down.
I'll send that to
Yeah, I don't
you.
know the name of it, but I know.
Like I said, I live in Rising Sun, so I'm not familiar with everything that's
We're
around.
gonna have to get you moved.
What?
We're gonna have to get you moved.
I like the
You gotta tell
country.
us.
Unless I move to the Elkton Heights, I like that area. It's safe.
So the Earl actually mentioned a good one, and this was something that came up during the audit, and it opened my eyes up a lot, but the sewer plant uses over 10 million gallons of water during the cleaning process, I think, of
Well, it's interesting.
of cleaning the wastewater, and it was, to me, that to me seems like an engineering flaw when they put that line through there.
Do we have
There's
clean
the-
water?
The wastewater treatment plant uses 2 types of water, potable water or
Yeah.
potable water, however you want to say, and processed water. Processed water is actually wastewater that's been filtered or treated, and they can use that, but you can't drink. So they use that, depends on what kind of
Okay.
application it is.
And that's metered?
They use a lot of water.
Yeah, it's metered now, yes.
No, I meant.
And the water treatment plant discharges a lot of water too when they do backwashing.
What's the water that you can't drink? Is it metered?
Processed water you can't track. It's not.
No, it wouldn't be needed.
So we're using clean processed water?
It's not like-
At 10 million is clean water.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Why can't we?
I can't imagine.
I don't know why they couldn't use the other water.
Can we have a report on that too?
Yeah.
Give them different?
Hey Lou, can you give us an answer, and not today, but give us an answer on why that clean water at the sewer plant can't be the processed water? Maybe there could be another line that comes out of there.
Well, I got sprayed a little bit today. I'm glad it was potable water.
I know.
Oh,
When I was down at the reactor, so,
I'll get you a suit.
Okay, so is there any, I mean, this is an ongoing thing, but we need a report on this every month. You guys good with that?
I would agree with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, the next item that we had on the agenda was the Department of Public Works properties mowed. I think I asked at one of the meetings. And this came up because we were finding, we had a couple residents wanted to buy maybe some of the town lands that we were mowing, but after further review, we couldn't figure that out. But when you look at this report that Dan's crew gave us, we are currently mowing 192.3 acres of land around the town. And you know, we got code cuts. You know, code cuts are when there's a violation and the grass is too high, and then we go out and do it. So we've also cut, last year we did 58 cuts that mowed someone's lawn or an alleyway that belonged to someone, but we also bill them for that. A code cut is what we bill them for. Whether we get paid or not, I can't answer that, but the code cuts.
Well, if we're not, I'm sorry to interject, but if we're not paid, are we putting liens on the property?
It would go to tax sale. Send a tax sale.
Okay.
The county tax.
So I want you all to look at this, and I know Dan has a great team of mowing all this grass, but now we're heading off to the Maryland Municipal League this week, and I'm going to do a little bit of a survey, and I'd ask the board to do the same thing, is to see how many municipalities do cut their own grass today. I don't know if it's something that they put out on bid and do it. I'm not saying we're doing that. I'm just saying I'd like to investigate.
There is something I'd like to bring to the board's attention, and if you look at the first 2 pages, basically
Yep.
it's a 4-page document. The first 2 are the areas that we cut. Notice the amount we're cutting, which are not owned by the town, number 1. And the second thing, look how many things we're cutting, which are done by defunct HOAs. And there's a bunch of them. There's a lot of defuncts that go out. You got your Buttonwoods, you got your Hollingsworth Manor, your Turnquest, Lansing Village. This is what happens. Page 3 is water and this stuff it's a water and sewer things that we cut for Infomark. Saving in town at least 50, 60K, because we can do it in-house that way. And the fourth one are stormwater management ponds. That's another entity to itself. If you look at the stormwater management ponds, we are cutting a lot of ponds, but they also have active HOAs at the same time. So that seems to be almost like a contradiction to a point where you got active HOAs, but you're also taking care of the heavy work, the ponds itself. So, like long term, the reason I bring this up is they got one certain HOA, one certain community wants to drop the HOA, and it says like, what do we care if the town will do it? It's a bad precedent to get into. We almost get blindsided into it. And the reason why I want to bring it to the board's attention is you got Southfield. In other words, this is our fear. If you got HOAs for 5 years, then they say, we're done. It's just going to collapse. So that's the most important thing. Look at the number of HOAs, which are defunct, which are active, but how much we get looked into it. That's the difference. These aren't just town-owned properties. They're things that,
What does our grass team do when there's no grass to be cut?
Mr. McQueen, answer that.
Yeah, so, we cut through a good portion in November. We try to get it to where, so it looks good. We put it to bed for the winter, for lack of a better way to say it. During the winter, they help out with the street pickups, the heavy influx of leaves that come in from, November, October, November, all the way up to, just about the time to cut grass. They also,
Lovely
the decorations for Christmas, and, they assist with interior stuff during winter, so they stay busy all year round.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
So what would be an advantage if the town contracted the work that they do with the grass cutting?
Well, I can tell
I mean,
you,
it's just an open-ended question.
yeah, I think from the standpoint of doing it for a living for quite a few years and doing it most of my life, you won't get the service level that we provide, without a doubt, plus the cost. I can pretty much almost guarantee we're doing it for less, even with the load of, holidays and their benefits and all that kind of stuff. So, we run extremely lean. We've got 5 people that do all that. So.
Thank you for your answer.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on grass cutting?
I want to comment on the grass cutting because Dan, I think you mentioned that we took over the grass cutting at the wastewater treatment plant. And they do a marvelous job taking care of that grass down there, better than any contractor we ever had that was paid by Infomark. But we do it now, and they took that cost off the contract. So, and then also water tower sites and things like that they do. So there's a lot of work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was probably.
Yeah, the pump stations. We have 13 pump stations.
I guess one thing that I would ask, and I watch the guys, and I'm not saying that they don't do a great job. That has nothing to do with what I'm asking here. But one thing that I would like to ask, maybe everyone in our town to take a look at is, especially if you're driving one of our DPW weight trucks or a vehicle that you could pull over with and put the flashing lights on. There's areas, it just frustrates me when I go through town and there's a couple of stop signs I see, like fines are going up the stop sign. I think that we all need to take our part and maybe stop and pull those lines off the stop sign, throw them in your car, throw them, it's fines, just keep them down on the ground. But also areas, if we're running through town and you see grass coming up in areas that doesn't look like it's been trimmed for months at a time. I'd just like to ask everyone to take their part, maybe stop and reach and pull those, root that grass up a little bit. And I just wish we would all do it. In fact, I would say, I'd make a plea to the whole town. If it's in front of your house, I'll give you an example. On Howard Street, there's weeds that's coming up, and it's no one's fault, but you would just wish the residents would kind of reach out and go down and pull those couple weeds. And I struggle at my own house at times.
Especially when they're coming out of the sidewalks.
It's coming right out of the sidewalks. It only takes in front of their house instead of me getting a phone call. But let's all do our part. Maybe we can all do that. Maybe as we're driving down the road, you see, don't get in any accidents though, but that's my comment.
What I will say to my department, I'll be set to defend them, is we probably spend 40 to 60 man hours a week just getting the stuff people dump. I mean, I usually worry about the grass, but we're taking couches, you know, mattresses that go through a week, just flat dumping, and we're in the process of doing that. So if we didn't maintain that, you wouldn't worry about grass being deep and everything else. So that's why there's a lot of just over dumping.
That's crazy. Pat, I
Now,
think,
if you found anybody dumping illegally, like, would you go through the trash to find out who?
I've done that before, I nail them. If I find paper, I've done VPD too, that's how we found them. Oh yeah, if we find something.
You do find them, what do we do with them?
We charge them.
They do?
Like, we've got one cleanup, we got in Turcos right now, we send them a bill.
Good, good.
Oh yeah, steering test, see what they're what.
yeah, we still got a little time left.
Okay. I just wanted to ask Sabrina, when we're billing these properties for grass cutting, do you see that come through as a different payment, like?
I don't see it because I don't
Does
see
the
any money.
department see it?
Well, yeah, the checks come in and the ladies up front post it.
And they know what it's for?
Yeah,
Because
we
we have a book.
miscellaneous invoices, and it's indicated on the invoice, we'll go and mark the invoice that is paid.
Do we have like an accounting of those monies? Like the income from them, or how much has been collected? Huh?
Probably.
Used to be on the financial report, it used to have grass cutting.
Yeah.
I'm
We just-
sorry.
In fact, we just increased the price because we don't want to cut grass.
Right, I know.
More of an incentive for the public to take care of the road.
Right. I'm sorry, I probably missed it on the reports.
The fee is, the normal fee, the normal minimum fee is $330. Now, it used to be $230, but now it's $330 each time. So I think the code enforcement, he sends them a letter and then he gives them 2 weeks, I think, to do it, and then he sends something to you guys and you cut it, and then I do the bill. So in order to send, we send everything to the county for tax sale in February, by March 1st, we send it to them. In order for them to sell property at tax sale, the total amount needs to be $750. They have a minimum, okay? So if we only send them one, just like a utility bill or whatever, they're not gonna sell it.
But what if it's not going to tax sale?
Eventually, we'll get,
When the
with
property's
these monies,
transferred, it's
especially
somewhat
with
different.
$330,
If it's
it's only gonna
sold,
take 3
transferred.
times to mow it, and during the summer, you're gonna get that, if it's a vacant property or an abandoned property. Okay, but yeah, if the property is transferred, we get that money, because there's notes in the system for each property that has that. There's notes in there, and then along with the book.
So does the money they collect go back in the DPW budget?
No, it was just general fund
I was
revenue.
just trying, I'm trying.
So the board's okay, you can make it 750. I mean, I'd be happy with that because 70% of what we do are vacant properties. They're the ones you go after. 30%, then you start getting into the minutia, like the backyard's not done, but the front is.
Are we doing the code cuts ourselves? We're not, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I don't have a problem if we raise that higher. I really don't. I
Yeah,
think
you make
it's,
it the tax bill because basically it's the abandoned properties you would go after. That's what you're going down to. You know, they're the big ones, and they're like probably 80% of the code cuts.
well, let's bring that up on our agenda to discuss that.
213 East High Street is a great example. How many years has that been going on and on? We finally got the problem.
I know there's some vacant lots that the guys say, if we're only getting on them every 6 weeks, it's better for us to charge them $350. And they couldn't, it's cheaper than them having it cut every week.
Well, that's a minimum. If it's a larger property, they get charged more. That's a minimum.
The, Pat, I think you was gonna ask something about trash, about grass.
Grass cut. How, Dan can answer this, how often do you cut these properties? Is it once a week, or does it depend on the group?
It's pending on the
As
letter.
far as all the properties that we do?
Yeah.
The majority of them we do once a week. The retention ponds, just because of, we're doing almost 200 acres total, or we would be, we can't do them every week. So the retention ponds, we monitor them. A lot of them we do every other. And, depending on, luckily this time of year, it's starting to slow down a little bit, so we might do it every third week if we can, as long as it doesn't look like a nuisance. We don't usually let it go over, probably 6 or 7 inches, and then we'll cut it, unless we get a lot of rain or reasons why we can't.
And then one other quick question. I know the law enforcement, I think it's over 12 inches, you send the homeowner
That's
a
code
notice.
enforcement, yeah.
Or code enforcement, they send them a note. What about people that just don't weed whack around their fences? And the grass is this tall, all the way around the property?
I think we have to ask the code enforcement. I don't know that answer,
I just thought I'd throw it out.
but we'll try to figure that out, answer that. We got about 4 minutes, and we're gonna have to bring the town code Title I general provisions up at the next workshop, but I would say, I do have a question in regards to it. I reviewed it. Everything looked pretty good, but I questioned the 20-day number.
For ordinances?
No, 20 days from when they get the notice.
Oh, that entire section.
not that paragraph, that
Yeah.
entire section needs to be rewritten.
Okay.
It doesn't work this way.
It doesn't work in 20. It's impossible for it. And I think we have a young man here that received a kind of a notice one time before. In 20 days, you can't even react. No one can react. Once you receive your letter, 20 days is impossible. And then the other part of that, I think that we should look at, and maybe John, maybe you look at it all first, and maybe recommendations. Maybe you make the recommendations us on some of these chapters. But the other thing that really stuck out to me was if there's nothing done. So receive a letter and nothing is done. We can't get into court, it sounds like.
No, I don't think that's the case, but you can't get into court this way. In a nutshell, imagine, because I know everybody in here has gotten a speeding ticket at some time in their life. They're payable offenses, right? So you get the citation, and on the citation it says, here's my check, and it goes away and you get your points. Or I want a hearing, or I basically want to plead guilty with an explanation. And so that goes to the Office of Administrative Hearings, who then contacts the district court and puts it in for a hearing if the person's requested either a hearing or a guilty with an explanation. That's, I think, where we're going to have to do this. That's the intake for a non-criminal payable offense. The criminal cases where you have a period of potential of incarceration comes through either the commissioner or the police department, right? These are not criminal matters. These are basically civil citations payable with a fine. The thing that we're going to have to figure out is what happens when a person doesn't respond, doesn't request a hearing, and doesn't pay the fine. The answer for the payable traffic offense is you don't do anything, eventually it catches up to you and your license gets suspended. I don't know what our penalty is going to be, and that's the part that we have to figure out.
Can our penalty be, could we put a lien?
Like you done with the grasses?
They would accept that for
Well, perhaps. That's the pieces I was looking through this, and wait a minute, there's a disconnect.
And here was the other little crazy thought I had. Could we be our own judge and jury, for example? Could the
guilty.
It sounds a little crazy, but if it's a municipal fine and they disagree with that fine, could they come in front, because it says right now, they can't go in front of the mayor and commissioners. But could we change that? Now, I don't know if we want to go down that road. I'm just saying, is it possible that they come in and they say, well, hey, I think this is unreasonable, this is why I do this, or do we create another whole board, our own judges? I know it sounds a little crazy, but I'm just trying to get to where we can get some resolve here.
You're trying to think outside the box because
What
what's
legal
working is
power-
right.
Yeah, nothing's working.
Would you have any legal power
Well,
on a decision?
I think it's going to take some cooperation and some sense from the district court. My sense was that, and the feedback that I gotten was, the state's attorney's office wouldn't prosecute these things. Well, I don't know if that's true or not true, but I mean, it's not a criminal offense. It's not a criminal matter. So I don't think they're going to.
When I had conversation with Chief Tomari, he said no, that it would have to be our attorneys.
And that's fine, I'll do that. And I think what's going to happen is that 80% of them are going to pay the fine and be done with it. And the other 20% are going to want to go to court. And because it's a civil offense, I can represent the town. It's a civil offense, just as if you were suing your next door neighbor. It's not a criminal matter. And I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I don't think it's going to be that burdensome. Because I don't know how many of these kinds of citations a year we actually issue or would issue.
Well, it sounds like to me, when I talk to our building and planning office, there's like thousands of them, and there's nothing they can do. If I asked, well, what did you do about the person A, B, C over here? And it's like, well, no, we wrote 13 letters.
Right, and that's all they're doing is writing a letter. Let me go through and redo this.
Could you do section 1? That'd be
And
good.
it's specifically,
There's 8 pages.
yeah, but anybody that got,
Because this is, I think this general provisions sets everything in motion as we go through the whole.
yeah, but I think
Right.
where the meat of what I'm talking about is in section 1.08. If you look through there, that's the entire section that needs to be completely redone.
Okay.
Because the way it's written, it doesn't give a way to get access to the courts. If you did this, the court's going to throw it out every time.
Yeah, we got to make that change.
The Office of Administrative Hearings is a body, like if you got, somebody gets a DWI, they go to court and they get, it's not a criminal matter, it's a serious traffic matter. It's adjudicated, they get found guilty, there's penalties associated with it, and then when that guilty verdict hits the MVA, there's a whole separate process that starts, and that's basically run by the Office of Administrative Hearings if they want a hearing on it. I think that's the way we have to access the courts, and I think that'll work.
Very good. All right, that's what we'll do.
Before we go, I know we have a person who wanted to state something to the board before we didn't know we was going to have this long meeting, this long, but would you like to address us?
Yes.
Something real.
Yes.
Yeah. Now state your full name and address for us.
My name is Dwayne Irvin, and I live in 204 Franklin Court. And my issue is,
204 Franklin Court.
I lived in this town for like over 30 years. And I moved from 408 Greymount Circle. And I got 2 trailers. And I used to have these trailers set on the street. And I never had a problem or issue about this at all. But when I moved down to 204 Franklin Court, all of a sudden, I'm getting a big issue, and I'm getting like not a threat, but I'm getting a letter, but it's not a letterhead on this letter stating from the town at all. And it's saying like trailers cannot be parked on the street. And my question is, why am I target for my trailer being on the street? I brought around this whole town, and I see a bunch of trailers, mobile homes and all that on the street, but there's nothing done. But I'm getting targeted, and I feel that that's not right for me. And when my trailer was sitting in the street, it was not parked in front of nobody's house. One of my trailers was parked in front of my house. Then my neighbor next to me said I could park a trailer down past his house, where that way I gave him enough room to park my trailers. But I don't understand why I'm getting targeted for this issue and everything, saying that they're going to tow my trailer if I don't move them and stuff like that. Now, I moved my trailers. I did what the cop asked me to do. So I'll obey by the law. But I felt that I shouldn't have to move if anybody else around the town does not move their trailer. Because like I said, I brought around Pictures Glen, Hollywood Manor, Colonial Ridge, the whole town, and I see a bunch of trailers out on the street, and there's nothing being done, but they come to me. I don't understand.
And I actually went out to your house on Franklin Court. I know Earl Piner's been out there also, and it is very frustrating. I saw how your trailers, and I was a little disappointed the way your neighbors were parked in there too. It was a little Ford. Yeah, I would say to you that I felt that in a cul-de-sac, I think has a little bit of life safety issues, a little different than being on the street. That's my opinion. I'm only giving you my opinion. But I also, the way that some of the vehicles were parked in that cul-de-sac, I couldn't turn when I went over there the day I saw you and I got my little vehicle, I almost had to turn and back up. I couldn't even swing around the cul-de-sac. But it really had nothing to do with your trailer at that point. It had the way that the vehicles were parked. Normally, if you have a cul-de-sac, you would just park your car this way, but they were pulling straight in. Does that make sense?
Now, excuse me, now, the lady down the street, I had my vehicle parked down there. She said I can't park there. Now, where am I park at? Go to the food line and park my vehicle?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, I pay taxes here.
Mm-hmm.
And I pay a lot of taxes. Like I said, I just purchased this home. And for one, if I known this was gonna happen, I wouldn't even purchase this home.
Understand.
Now, because I love the town of Elkton. Like I said, I lived here just about the majority of my life. I never had a problem with the police, anybody, the panel, or anything like that. I've been by the law around here. And I don't understand why the situation like that.
Who sent you that letter that you have in your hand?
This letter came from the cop. And on the back of it said like they wrote me 2 letters. They didn't give me no 2 letters. Now, like y'all were talking about the grass being cut. I got a letter at 204 Franklin Court saying my grass was too high. Now, he said the grass got to be what, 12 inches? Am I correct?
Yeah.
My grass was not 12 inches, but I get a letter with a picture of my grass. I maintain my yard every day, every week. I take care of my property. Because like I said, I ride around this town, and I see a lot of things that is not being done correctly. I seen one guy's grass this high, and it was like that for over a week. I'm not going to say where the location's at, but I've seen the grass that high.
Yeah, I'm sure they got a letter.
Ask Chief to address this.
Probably, absolutely. That's probably not a letter, it's a copy of the ordinance, probably, just showing you. That's why it's not on letterhead. It's a copy of the ordinance that tells you what.
I mean, if I'm going to send out a letter, I'm going to have a professional with the letterhead on there.
Yeah, was this sent to you or was this left on the trailer?
It wasn't left on the trailer. This officer brought this letter to me.
And handed it to you, okay.
Yeah.
He was just trying to show you the ordinance of what it is and what we have to enforce. That totally was complaint driven, meaning somebody in that neighborhood or somebody who rode around made a specific complaint about yours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, since like I said, I moved my trailers off the street. I'm tearing up my trailers, backing it up in my driveway, and I'm tearing up my driveway too, in the process of this. And like I said, what is going, if I gotta move my trailer off the street, what you gonna do about these other trailers on the street?
You have a valid point.
You absolutely do, and I don't have an issue. If this is what, if that's how we want to handle it, I'm fine with that, and we can go through all the neighborhoods and do it. We're doing the same thing with out-of-state tax. A lot of times, though, because we do want to be community friendly, we want to give people an opportunity to know what the law is and how to do that. But we also, every neighborhood's a little different, and maybe it doesn't bother you, and all of a sudden we're just picking on the people in the neighborhood?
It should go according on the neighborhood. If you go to pick point at one person put back their trailer, you should get everybody. This is like having a job. It's an equal opportunity.
Listen to me, I totally agree with you. I don't mind. The issue, like I'm saying, is we have a lot of other things that we're dealing with, and this, unless it's a priority for the community, it hasn't been a priority for us. I'm just gonna be honest with you. We have a lot of things, we don't enforce everything in that book. Sometimes it's complaint driven.
Okay.
And this one was complaint driven, and we went out there and we said it. You didn't get cited, right?
No,
So we asked for compliance.
If I didn't move it, I would have got, like I said, it would have got towed, and then I would have got violation and everything.
This is why we're going.
But
I hear what you're saying.
that's why I said, if you do one, do everybody, because it's not fair to one person, and I can go around the town, like I said, and nothing being done. I see people with mobile home in the cul-de-sac. This one cul-de-sac.
If the motorhome is registered, there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, my trailers are registered too.
Yeah.
It depends, right.
It is.
There are things, it depends on the weight, and you have to read the actual ordinance. It depends on the weight.
I got the ordinance, I read the ordinance, it didn't say nothing about weight. It states every trailer, all kind of different trailers is stated in this compliance here. And like I said, it's not fair to me.
Dwayne, I will tell you that your situation after we came out there, This is what has initiated this code review that we're doing now. And we got codes that things change over the years. But I do agree with you 100%. Either we have to enforce it for everybody, or you have to take it out of your code book so that no one, that you don't enforce it for anybody.
So what's gonna happen then?
So I would say to you, just hold on. I guess I can't, I don't know how I could even make that comment. What do you suggest here, Lou?
He has to move his trailer if he was given a copy of the code, because that's the law.
So move your trailer.
I did.
Perfect.
Already
And
did
we're
that.
addressing the code now. This is, it'll probably take us a little time to get through it, but this is something that we were just given direction to our town attorney. We want to look through the whole code and make these changes, because if there are laws that we're not enforcing, we shouldn't have them on the code book.
Yeah, but in the meantime, he said that's being unfair to him until he
And I
gets some
would say-
satisfaction with whatever he's gonna come up with the code.
I can tell you that I was taken out to this community by EPD to look specifically because the dilemma was, and I agree with what you're saying, sir. The dilemma, and I think the reason, the chief can speak for the department, but I think a concern was that a fire truck could not get through there and cause real danger to the lives in that community. And that, I think, is partly what drove this issue, and probably receiving.
Can I stop you for a second? Because I've got to say this. On behalf of what he's speaking, Dwayne, right? Yes. Dwayne speaking, I felt personally the same way he did. There was one neighbor of his that had 4 vehicles that took up that whole side. Now, if that 4 vehicles is going to take up the space for those 2 little trailers, then something should have been done to that guy. Now, I'm just saying, that's where he's coming at. He's not coming straight out and saying it. But I think it's a neighbor-to-neighbor issue right there. But that's my opinion. The thing is, if they all had been parked the right way around that cul-de-sac, there shouldn't have been an issue for anybody turning. So if one goes for one, needs to go for the next door neighbors. Because and I'm going to point it out, it's an emergency vehicle. That emergency vehicle is just sitting there, just blinking this way along the curb. Then he parks in his own driveway, and he leaves his driveway open just so he can't get his trailer in there. There's an issue. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? Chief? So don't look out for the buddy and then take his stuff off the road because it's parked because the next door neighbor don't like it. That's what he's dealing with. And if I was living out there, it would be an issue every day because that right there is no, well, I'm not even gonna say it. It's discriminating. That's basically what it is.
So what I'm hearing is there's another vehicle out there that's parked illegally?
There's a next door neighbor that has at least 3 or 4 vehicles that's taking up space.
I think, this is what I should.
And I'm not going to be the push.
They're pulling in straight ahead and not, if that makes any sense.
In the cul-de-sac?
Into the cul-de-sac, so they pull straight. Yes, they don't have all 4 the tires to the curb. They're pulling straight in, and actually what I saw that day, I felt that was more of a violation than the trailer being up against the wreck, because it was 4 spaces taken up for.
But where am I parking my vehicle? I got 3 vehicles. Where am I parking? Because that cul-de-sac only got but so much. I can only park 1 car, like you said, if I park it around the curb, I can only park 1 car. Then I got to take the other 2 cars and park them down by somebody else's house, and I don't want to do that so I can hear it thoroughly.
So you're parking it in straight ahead.
Yes, so I can park in front of my home.
Okay, now I'm figuring it all out here.
That's the only way I can park in front of my house.
But the one question I will ask with the trailer issue, if I'm paying insurance for my vehicle and I've got my trailer hooked onto my vehicle, and if I want to park in front of my house with my car hooked onto my trailer, I'm legally hooked onto my vehicle, paying insurance. I'm going to have to just get rid of my trailer now. It's going to be a
town
on.
ordinance, is the town ordinance. If you don't want us to enforce it, that's all you have to do, is give me some rings.
I'm just saying,
And we'll leave the trailers out there.
because that's gonna open up more than just that one little trailer that's not hooked up, but the trailer is hooked on. As far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna back up, hook my trailer, and then park it. And I'm legally parked because I'm licensed to park my vehicle on the street.
You are licensed and you're legally able to through the state of New York. According to our ordinance, as they are currently written, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, and it's no one's, what I'm saying, it's no one's fault, it's
That's
our
what I'm
ordinance.
saying. I take, in the police department, we take our direction from you, the board.
I
You guys
understand.
make these laws. If you don't want us to enforce it, I'm okay with that. If you want me to send somebody in every neighborhood around here to enforce it, I'm okay with that too. This was totally complaint driven. We received a complaint.
I think that we need to, I think that this is one of those codes, because I think things have changed. Everyone owns a trailer today. Back when these ordinances were written, no one owned it. It was a luxury to own a tow-behind trailer, but there's in the town of Elkton, I agree 100%, there's trailers everywhere. Not a bad thing, but our ordinance, as it was written in 1976, states that there's no landscaping trailers on the streets, but I think it needs to be changed.
No respect to you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Now, you got a small vehicle.
Yeah.
Now, the cul-de-sac I live in, it's a nice sized cul-de-sac.
It's a huge cul-de-sac, yeah.
UPS, they got big trucks when they deliver.
Yep.
FedEx got big trucks when they deliver. The garbage trucks got big trucks when they come pick up our garbage. And there's another truck that's big enough that comes in there. I'll watch them come in there, turn around, and everything. And you saying you had a problem with your vehicle, like you couldn't turn around, because you got a small vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And the small vehicle, you could do it. You turn in that my cul-de-sac. And I don't understand that, what you were saying.
Well, what I was saying is when I came in, I was able to swing all the way around in my small vehicle, and I would be shocked at a fire truck, or in fact, I'm kind of surprised that a UPS truck or an Amazon truck could spin the day that I saw what I saw in there.
What they do now, I got CDL license. I'm a professional driver.
Yep.
That's what the CDL is. I could take a truck, not make a U-turn, but the kids, if there's not enough room, what you do, you get in there so far and you back up and then you go about your business. Now, go at Huntingford Manor. You got these little small streets. Okay, when the fire truck goes down the street, how they gonna get out? They gotta back out. They can't turn around.
Listen,
Now I got a big cul-de-sac, and the fire truck, they gotta have a professional license to drive.
Listen.
If they can't drive, why are they driving for it?
Dwayne, you're well prepared for this argument. And
And
listen, I will tell you that I believe that our ordinance has to change.
Yeah, it really does.
But it's currently, the way it's written right now, our police have to enforce, and we've been doing it. So bear with us.
Give us time to.
Bear with us if you can.
I just come to the meeting to give my opinion.
And you got a great opinion on it.
Like I said, I don't want to be the only one in this town to be targeted.
Yeah, I don't believe that that's the case, but I do.
But, I mean, you don't see it that way, but
Yeah.
I do because.
Yes.
Okay, if you come target me, you should have been out targeting everybody at the same time.
And to your point, I guess you could use the word targeting because it was complaint driven.
And I know
You were targeted in that way.
And I know who targeted me because it's my neighbor.
May I say something? I've sat here pretty quiet through the whole meeting, but Dwayne, you make a great presentation, and I think we all agree with you. I think that from what it sounds like, we're going to be looking at this ordinance and probably changing it. But you are not targeted by the town. You were targeted by one of your neighbors who reported it to us, and we responded accordingly.
I understand.
But you still listen now, we're behind you. We understand and we sympathize, and we are going to take steps toward changing this
can't solve it right
But
now.
like
We
you
can't
said,
solve it this instant, but due to you coming here today, we're going to take steps to change this.
okay, I understand what you said. It was my neighbor, like I said, I know who done it. And I quoted, I went to him and said, he said, I didn't call. But like I said, when it came to about the fire truck, I knew it was him. He gave himself up when he said fire truck. And he's the assistant fire chief. And he was the one that told me.
I just
to
think
park
we need
my-
to put this to rest today.
He was the one that told me to park my trailer there.
Dwayne, we can go ahead and handle it, brother. We can just go ahead and take care from this moving forward, and then handle it the way we have to as a board, and then we get back with you on that, okay?
Okay.
And we thank you for coming.
When you get to that decision, can you mail me a letter? please?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm gonna do better. Earl's gonna let you park your trailer in his yard. And listen. I will absolutely make sure you get that letter.
Okay.
All right. And we really do appreciate you coming in and.
And
Mayor, I got a trailer too.
I just want to thank you for, giving me the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for everyone today.